God dang, I feel like I'm in the yard. Jesus. Okay, if we could all mosey on in, grab a seat so we could start. I want to start by saying some of the family are on their way. They got stuck, but they know we have to get started. So hopefully they're going to get here very soon. So for anybody who don't know, I'm Jerome. Butch and I have been friends for many, many, many years, more than just friends, where he's been a huge part of my life and where I am today. So I do want to say that's why we're here today, for Morris Nicklin. Morris's name actually is, Butch's nickname really is Morris Eugene Nicklin, and his family had told me that they don't even know where the name Butch came from. His sister does. Okay, so finally somebody knows. It's been a secret. What? Oh, the grandfather named him, and that's where it came from. So nobody. It's been a secret for many, many years. And Butch was born to Raymond and Ruby Nicklin on 12/20/1954 in the Dalles, Oregon. And, you know, just in case nobody knew, Butch was from Dalles, Oregon. He loved mountain books, anything with a mountain man. He loved Crocodile Hunter. It was his favorite show. Matter of fact, when the host of that was electrocuted, he was devastated. And then his favorite singer was Shania Twain. So that was Butch, right? So Butch did get married to Elizabeth Janie Carter in 1973, and they had two sons, Ernie and Aaron. They were married for 13 years, and when they were divorced in 1986, at that time, Butch became the sole provider of his two boys. And I'll tell a story that Butch loves to tell, but when he became the sole provider in 1995, became a dad to Brandy, who has been a daughter to him ever since. And also, Butch has a son in 1995 with Gina Coleman, and became a father once again to his son Hunter. And Hunter is actually here today from Idaho. And so I was outside talking with Hunter, and it's funny about the connection because when I was talking to him, he said it was so weird because he loves tie-dye, and he has a tattoo of a softball on his arm, right? The two things that Butch loved most, right? So it was great. So Butch, once he took was the sole provider, had many jobs, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But, you know, Butch didn't even use drugs, hard drugs, until he was 24 years old. And that's when he got caught up. But, you know, the one thing that Butch always tried to do is be a father. He loved his sons all the way to the end. His sons were the most important thing in his life. It didn't matter what they did, and it didn't matter if it was good, bad, or indifferent. It didn't matter if he was mad. He always had their back, and he always was very proud to be their father. He tells a story, and it's a story that he loves to tell, and I always try to get him to tell it, as being a parent. Butch, this is the mountain man in Butch. So if you ask Butch, how did you potty train your kids, your boys? He'll tell you, I duct taped them to the toilet. I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, yeah, man, if they were going to go to bed, I duct taped them till they went, they learned how. So he was always, He was always very proud of that story and would put a great big smile on when he did it. So with that also saying is, Butch was just not a father to Ernie and Aaron, Brandy and Hunter, but he was also a grandfather. So get ready for this. Butch had 9 grandchildren and went from Brianna, Emily, Anna, Haley, Austin, Devin, Anthony, Lexi, and Zachary. We're not done. As well as 10 great-grandchildren, right? Mikey, Haven, Ava, Maverick, Noah, Neviah, Jaden, Phoenix, Hendrix, and Catalia, I think. Wow, right? That's a lot. But here's the thing, is Butch loved every one of them equally and the same. That's who Butch was. Butch loved all people equally. Didn't matter if they were family or not. Butch took many kids in when he was younger that were friends with Ernie and Aaron, kids that were struggling out there, had nowhere to go. He'd bring them home. He let them stay there and do the best he could with them. Even when he was in his addiction and even when he was struggling with his own stuff. So that's who Butch was as a man. You know, all his grandchildren loved him. He always tried to do the best he could for his kids and his grandkids. And to his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, he has always been Papa Butch. Excuse me. With saying that, Butch, even in Butch's addiction, Brandy was telling me a story today about what you don't really think about when you think about Butch is apparently he got pulled over driving a car, got out, and Butch was running, and she said all she could see is his hair because Butch had a lot of people might not notice, but Butch had like this big fro, man. His hair was out to here. Not so much lately, but he always, one thing Butch never did was cut his hair or shave his mustache. That was his thing. And people used to ask Butch, and I laugh at him all the time when he does it, because they say, how do you keep it so white? And he would just take his hands and go, like he was milking a cow. You know, Butch had a great sense of humor. And he always was smiling and always laughing until he wasn't, okay? He could get grumpy, but he still respected people, right? You know, the funny thing is, Butch has never spent any time in jail whatsoever. Never been to prison, never been to jail. He did a couple days in maybe the Dalles. Is that where he went to jail? He did some time in a couple days, right? So we're not talking about some big criminal, right? But he did some criminal activity when he was out here. I don't want to get into what, but one way is just shake his hand and you'll always be able to find out. He had the roughest hand you could ever imagine on a person, right? It's like sandpaper. So if you ever want to, you're missing Butch, just grab some sandpaper and shake it. It'd be right there with you. So, you know, Butch tried to get clean. He went to treatment at the center here at Volunteers of America, the Men's Residential Center. And it didn't stick with him the first time. And so he left there. And then DHS came in and said that they were taking 2 of his grandchildren. And Butch at that time decided that he needed treatment because the DHS said that his children needed treatment, and or they were going to take the kids. Butch voluntarily re-entered the MRC for the second and final time. And what he had told his kids was this: I can't help you stay clean if I'm not clean myself. And what a powerful statement and that shows who Butch is, because like I said, he loved his kids, he loved his grandkids, and he knew that the only way for him to do that, to help them, is to be able to go to treatment himself. So let's talk a little bit about treatment and Butch. I was very fortunate because I met Butch in the waitlist groups at Volunteers of America, the Men's Residential Center, and we entered the same day. Not only did we enter the same day, we became roommates. And it was just a two-man room, so we did that. Butch and I went through every single class together. We graduated the intensive outpatient together, inpatient. We went to the outpatient. We completed the outpatient together. We also went after the outpatient. Me and Butch did a lot of stuff that had to do with recovery, which I'm going to talk about, what he's given everybody. And then, when we were in treatment, Butch had my back no matter what, but man, he would sell me out over a girl in a heartbeat. If I do anything, he goes, well, don't lie. Don't do it. Okay, Butch, I get it, man. Because that's who Butch was. He always, and I'm going to talk about that in a second too. But we used to run around and we would talk and say, Butch said to me, someday we're going to work here. Let's. And I said, yeah, Butch, they're going to hire me, right? And he goes, no, we'll get a job here. And that's the one thing. Butch has always supported me. And when I say that, I don't make this about me. He supported me and he supported everybody that came through that building. He supported everybody he loved. And if he didn't love somebody, he liked them enough, or he didn't care, as long as he could give them something, right? And that's who Butch was. So one day, Greg Stone called us up to his office one day. And me and Butch go up there, and he sat us down and he says, I want to know if you two want to work at the MRC. And we got hired the same day. And me and Butch, that's how our lives have been. So I got to witness. I never knew when I went to VOA that I was going to meet one of my greatest teachers, one of the most humblest people I ever met, one of the funniest people, and one who cared about me as much as I cared him. And that's who Butch was, and he did that with everybody. You can't go anywhere and ever hear anybody say anything bad about Butch. I want to share what Butch gave to the MRC. Butch, one of the first things is we used to do softball, and the WRC girls weren't allowed to go. And they weren't allowed to go, if anybody remembers, the rap center. There was a thing called the rap center, and the girls didn't have a band to take them. And Butch is the one who got us to be able to. He brought it up. He said, hey, maybe we could pick them up, take them off, and drop them up so they could get recovery. He got them on, we'll pick the girls up to play softball on our softball team, because that's what it meant to him. Butch and I managed. We coached, we played, and we managed the inpatient treatment softball team, and then it kind of ended when Butch was running for first base. And he hit that ball, and he was running, and all of a sudden he comes up to me after that, he goes, I'm done. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I just pulled an ass muscle, and I cannot play anymore. So he was done. He was done. But he coached that team. He coached that team for over, 20 years? 17, 18 years he coached that. And every player he ever played for him loved him. And he treated everybody fairly. And he gave everybody a chance to play, even He didn't care if we were going to win or lose a game. He just wanted everybody to be a part of that, or the way the softball was run, and be a part of recovery. And that's what he gave. At the end of every season, he had a pizza party. He did this. He did what he could to make the people feel like they belonged somewhere, because that's who he was. Also, Butch loved to take the guys to all the camping trips. Him and Heather used to go do Canada. Everybody wanted to do the camping trips with Butch and whoever he was going with. And it wasn't just about going camping. It was about what he would do for them out there. He'd tell people, hey, this is your time. Enjoy yourselves. But he was up in the morning making sure breakfast was cooked for everybody. He would take people fishing. He loved to take the guys fishing, and I'm going to be talking about what he really was. And, not just a coach and all that, but he took like the leader of the softball team and becoming a leader. He would teach people how to fish. He loved, if they didn't know how to fish, he loved to be able to tell them, yeah, you got to do this, you do this. You know what I mean? Everybody loved going fish. They were looking forward to go fishing, because that's what Butch gave them, and that Butch is the one they wanted to take, for them to take. So, again, because that's who Butch was, just as a human being, and the type of man he was. Butch had plenty of other jobs, which some people, the one that blew me away is that he worked at a dental assistant. I mean, that one blew me away. But you know what? Butch did stuff that we didn't even know. Butch jumped out of he was a forest fire service, and he would jump out of planes at hot fires. Could you imagine Butch coming down in the sky? You know what I'm saying? But, and he worked at Albertsons, and he did everything. But his most loved job was at the MRC. About 3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, 4, but we were taking Butch to the doctors to get his have his surgery, and Erin and I was there. And as we were doing that, I'm driving, and me and Butch were talking, and Butch said to me, I hope they're going to let me work again. And I said, Butch, we're going to find something. We'll figure something out, man. You'll be on light duty. You'll do something. We'll figure it out, right? Because that's how much he loved the MRC and giving back and being there. And Butch said to me, when I said, we'll give you light duty, what Butch said to me was, well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I could sit in that chair in the back. I know how to do that. I said, Butch, I love you, man. But that's where his heart was. And that's who Butch was. So, I could go on with many stories about Butch, as many people can, and we're going to give people the opportunity to do that. But I do want to say, in closing, what his family wanted people to know and what them to hear is Butch wasn't just a father, a grandfather, or a great-grandfather. He was also a friend, a coach, a support person, a mentor, and a role model. He always treated everyone that he had contact with the utmost respect. He never judged anyone or looked down on them. No matter what choices they were making, Butch was funny beyond words. He was strong beyond measure, and he never turned his back on anyone that he loved, no matter how bad the choice they make. I didn't want to say that in church. Um, uh, you know what she's saying, right? The F word. I didn't want to say that. So, also at the end of that, so no matter how badly they messed up, there will forever be a hole in our lives and in our hearts. We love you and we thank you for everything that you have done for us all, Pops. You may be gone, but you will never be forgotten. And that's from his family and the love and the relationship they had with Butch. And I want to say this before I close. I'm looking around this room, and I know we're streaming, and I know people are watching. Some people couldn't be here. But I want to say this. As I look around this room, Butch made it, man. Butch touched so many lives. And he had the biggest heart. And if he was here right now, standing up here, he'd be embarrassed, right? He didn't like to talk in big crowds, and but he was that humble. He was just a humble human being who cared about people and cared about life. And he had this huge, huge heart. And as I look around this room, I want everybody to know that his heart was so big that every one of us could take a piece of that and put it in our hearts, our own hearts, to never forget who Butch was. Thank you. Oh, real quick, if anybody wants to come up and say anything, we want to kind of keep it time-wise too. Please do that. And after this is done, if anybody wants to stay back, just tell stories about Butch. You're more than happy to do that. I hope I did him justice. I've never in my entire life had a friend like Butch. And I don't think anybody in this room has or close to it. So thank you all for coming here and showing your love for Butch Nicklin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lori Guerrero, Residential Treatment Supervisor for the MRC, Volunteers of America. Thank you all for coming. Jerome, we love you, support you. I just briefly want to share my relationship. Butch started 05 or 06 when that was really bright. I was an outreach worker with the FIT program and would take parents to meetings like at the meeting over there on Foster. Kelly Goss is in the room, Yola's place. And Butch would be bringing guys from MRC, so we started our relationship as we were both working with clients. And 2 years ago, I got the honor of being hired and becoming Butch's supervisor. So I remember when Greg and I met with Joe and kind of go through all the different staff. And I got told that Butch could do whatever he wanted, which was pretty much not a lot. And that was okay because he earned that spot, right? The only way Butch would ever leave the MRC was if he put his hands on a client. And I'm sure he felt like coming close a few times, but you know, I love the opportunity to work with him in that capacity. I love the opportunity to be here, part of this family. And we'll be looking forward to doing a yearly fishing memorial in honor of Butch. And maybe we can even name the Sack House after him instead of the Sack House. Anyway. All right, Heather, come on up. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to give our 2 cents here. I've known Butch all of my life. Butch is my first cousin. We grew up together. Whether it be bad, good, we all had a lot of fun doing it. And that was Butch, and that was me. If we weren't having fun, we were always sitting down in trouble. So, but I tell you, all of the family, everybody down. Whoa, sorry. I know. Down in here, they all know Butch. We all grew up together, and I just wanted to let Butch know that we love you so very much. And rest in peace, Butch. We are blessed to have known you. Thank you.
My name's Heather. So I've known Butch for about 22 years. At the time that Jerome and Butch were in treatment at the MRC, I was in treatment at the WRC. And so we would do little events together, or anger management classes, and go to the gym together or whatever, but I ended up going back out, and when I came back from my relapse, Jerome and I both actually, when we came back from our relapses, Butch was still clean, and I went back to the WRC in 2005, and in 2008, once I got hit that 2-year mark, he was like, you gotta come work at the MRC, you gotta come work at the MRC, and I was like, oh, I didn't think, I wasn't employable, but him and Jerome both encouraged me to interview for the position, and I got it. And so in 2008, I started working at the MRC with Butch and Jerome. And I just wanted to share a few stories of my time together with him. On my first day, or my first week of training, Butch says to me, hey, I don't remember who initiated, but one of them, and I think Leonard might have been there also, initiated it and said, hey, did you have her go down to the basement and get that bucket of steam yet? And so Butch was like, yeah, Heather, you got to come on down here. I'm not going to go down the stairs, but you got to go down there and get the bucket of steam. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I get halfway down the stairs. I'm like, you can't get a bucket of steam. Like, but those were the kinds of things, like, he was a funny guy. He never let me live that one down, that whole bucket of steam. Butch and I, we have a tradition every year where we take the guys camping, and we have 2 campouts that we always did together, Canico and Timothy Lake. And one of the things that I really loved about Butch, and somebody said it already, is that so Butch is strict at the center. Like, you got to follow the rules. He can be fun guy or whatever, but like, he held the guys accountable, and they respected him for that. But then when we go camping, he didn't allow them to get away with anything, but at the same time, he empowered them to just be. Like, this is your weekend, enjoy it, enjoy time with your family. Teaching them how to camp without the use of drugs and alcohol, how to have a good time, letting them feel some freedom out in nature, while also, being there and not letting them get in trouble. But that was why I enjoyed going camping with them so much, is because you got to see a different side of Butch than at the center. One of my other favorite things about Butch is whenever I'd call him, be like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, just sitting here naked eating Oreo cookies. Every time, whether he was at work or not. I can say that now because, every time. That was Butch for you, He And someone mentioned about him loving taking the guys fishing. That was another thing that he really loved to do. And one time I had called, I don't remember how I got on the phone with him, but they're like, Butch was going to miss work the next day or something because he was all beat up. And I'm like, well, what happened? And they're like, well, he fell off a cliff. I'm like, what do you mean he fell off a cliff? He's like, well, he took the guys camping. I was like, I got to call him. So I call him. I'm like, what happened? He's like, well, we were camping, and I stepped backwards, and I fell off a cliff into some blackberry bushes. And instead of calling somebody for help, he climbed himself back up off of this cliff, and like the guys are all at the van waiting for him, and he comes like all beaten up and bloody, like scratched up from the bushes. And instead of having them like call somebody, he made them bring him back to the center, and like he was very stubborn that way, but they didn't let him live that one down either. He was very dedicated. He loved watching the miracle that happens at the center when guys come in. We shared this. Guys coming in beaten and broken and just hopeless, and along the way you see that life come back into their eyes, and he played a part in that. Like Jerome said, you'll never go somewhere and be in a crowd of people and ever hear anybody have one bad thing to say about him. He loved hard. He was dedicated. He wasn't a pushover at all. I was thinking about it the other day, like he has been a part of my whole recovery. He's been a part of my life for 22 years, and so there's like this hole, missing. I want to say to his family, I'm really sorry for your guys' loss. I know that he was a pillar for your family. And look around, like there's a whole community here that will help if you need anything. Like he was that kind of person, and I hope that we can give that to you. Those are the 3 stories I wanted to share with you guys. Like he's definitely missed. Camping this year is going to feel different for sure. But I'm going to do everything I can to always, keep his memory alive. And I'm just blessed to have been able to have him in my life.
Butch is here. So I'm going to set this here. I did want to share one thing that I forgot to share, that we used to do Cinco de Mayo a lot every year for 10 years. So one day, Butch liked to sleep. We know that. He's a napper. So and we worked overnight as the security. And Butch is different from the MRC, but when he put on his uniform, basically a shirt that said staff security, he would change. So one day, somebody had jumped the fence, some kids, right? And I'm like walking, so now I'm running. And I'm like, Butch, man, there's some people in here. And he's like, rah, 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 rah. And they run and they get to this fence and they're jumping over the fence. So I'm like, no problem. And here comes Butch, like full speed, whoom, right by me with a bat. Bam, get out of here. And he's beating these kids. I said, Butch, you can't do that. He goes, the bastards shouldn't have looked. They ripped the fence and they did. I'm like, Butch. And I know the only reason he was upset is because they woke him up from his nap. That was it. So I just wanted to share that.
My name is Blake. Probably going to be very difficult for me to get through this, but I will do the best I can. And I know this is about Butch, but the impact that he had on my life and my 21 years of recovery, my VOA work life is big. But I first met Butch in 2003. I had met his sons, who at the time over there in Felony Flats, and I won't war story too much, but I ended up in Butch's garage, who I hadn't met Butch yet, and they had somehow cooked up some stuff that was supposed to be something, and I still don't know what it was, but I just remember Butch coming in there, And even in that environment, I learned two things about his kids. They were young, of course. This is pre-grandkids, probably great-grandkids, of course, too. But Butch came in, and details are fuzzy, of course. But Butch came in, and we were messing around in the garage, and I saw these two I think it was Ernie and Aaron both. Hard to say detail, but yeah, I saw these are. I was a little sketched out about these guys. They're tattooed up, and they're doing this life, and so I just remember in the midst of it, Butch coming out. He lost his mind, and I thought, and it was about what we were doing. And some, maybe some stolen bike stuff in there. And I just left there, and then Ernie and Aaron both just turned into children at that same moment. So I know two things. I learned that they weren't as hard as they, I might have thought they were. And which was a kind of I thought they were going to kill me, actually, at some point, but another story. So that was a good thing. And then also I learned that even though Butch was in that scenario in his life, just like I was, deep in my addiction, doing things that I didn't want to do, but trying to do as good as we could in those circumstances. And I saw in Butch the same thing. And so that's when I first met Butch. Now, roughly a few months later, when I ended up at VOA by the grace of God, and I do acknowledge God as putting the people in my life that he has. He has done that for my recovery, for my life, and I believe for all of us that have had these experiences. But I went in October 3rd, 2003 to the MRC, and roughly a month later, Butch showed up in Jerome, and it was kind of it made me feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. It gave me a connection. I didn't think I was going to make it. I was ready to head out the door as soon as my PO left, and it was people that cared about me, that showed, not just staff, which I later learned their hearts too, but it was clients. It was the community that said, "Hey, man, you look like you're getting ready to bolt. Stick around, like stay around." And I did. And then, of course, I am blessed in my life right now to have the people that God put together, that group, and I can only pray and hope that there's that same group, different people, but that same thing that's happening to others, because that's what it took. That's what it's taken for me to make it as far as I have through all the stuff. And then Butch, same story goes. I'm just doing the deal. I'm coming in doing support for guys. They told me do this. This is what you do. During that time, I'm struggling around that, some of that issue. Butch initiated me to even work at VOA, like many people I've learned. He said, "Hey, they're looking for a volunteer to come every other Sunday," and I was like, "I'm taking the bus. I don't think this is for me. I'm struggling at the support thing already." He's like, "Dude, just do it. Just do it." And he talked me into that. And these one events, they change our lives. Play the tape through. And that's something that I learned at VOA, and it saved my ass. It saved my butt many times. It's a key thing. The decisions I make today and tomorrow, I play the tape through, and I've used that, and that's what I did. I kind of looked at what Butch was saying, and he was hard to say no to. So he got me volunteering every other Sunday, doing potluck at the park, feeding the homeless. It was very rewarding. It gave me a sense of, some sense of dignity and a lot of the things that I had lost in my addiction, and I didn't even have it with family because I had, burnt those bridges. And, as time moved on, those things come back. But, and then same with, Butch got me into working. So same thing. I was doing the volunteer thing. He's like, "Hey, they're looking for an RC. Dude, you should do it." I'm like, "Dude, they will tear me up. There is no way I can go back in here and work. There's just, I don't have it in me." And he convinced me that, "Dude, you can do it. We want you." And so that led to what I consider the dream team. We had Leonard, Butch, Kelly, Jerome, And Mo. It's the dream team. To me, and again, I hope and pray that continues. That friendship, that love for one another, it's what makes it happen. It's made life worth living to this point, and I think Butch would think the same. I'll tell you one funny story, maybe funny. Butch, he could get mad, and this is one time. I can only really think one time that I ever got Butch where he was mad. I knew, okay, I saw him mad, but me personally, he was angry at me. And so our dream team, what we would do for UAs is we'd have Leonard at the front desk. We'd have, Kelly would help round people up, or you were at a meeting. But usually it was Butch and me tag teaming UAs. Leonard would line them up, 10 deep. We'd just knock them out. And sometimes people can't go. So you're like, okay, back to the couch. And then me and Butch would alternate. And I had one client, he's like 4 times. I'm like, look, I got to go get the guys at the meeting. We got to get this going. He's like, well, if I sit down, I can go. I'm like, we'll do it then. He went more than UA'd, okay, let's just say that. And I'm like in there, I'm doing it was old school paperwork. We'd do it all, holding my breath. And guess who's coming in behind me? The client went in, the next client, and then Butch come in and shut the door, locked it, and I heard, I heard he was mad. I'm like, oh. After he came out and the client was not there, he looked at me and he said, don't you ever do that again, ever. And I saw in his eyes, I'm like, I will never do that again. So that was Butch. He never held a grudge. That was another thing. That's such a quality, a gift. That's a godly gift that we can only hope that we have, and we can project and be that way. He had something about him that was real. You knew Butch. It was consistent. His life, his dedication to the MRC and to people in recovery. That was never in question. And that's given me a sense of that consistency has been such a part of my life every Sunday for the last, I can't tell you, 10 plus years that Butch has relieved me every Sunday at that time, 5:30 in the morning. And that's going to be missed for me. My life is drastically going to have some changes. I have good support for that. I trust in a God that this is just part of life right now. This is I've seen a lot of people, as we all have, and my own family, have died. But this one really, it hits hard. It's going to be a difficult transition. I'm off this weekend, and I'm thankful. I have vacation with family. But when I go back and have to be in that space, and Butch isn't coming through the door anymore, it's going to be definitely something for me to learn from. But that's what Butch does. That's what he did, and I can't really say any more that we don't already know. If I can be half that to folks, and I don't aspire to be that, because that's a special gift that Butch had, to relate to every type of person. It didn't matter where you were at, and that's a gift that he had, and I just want to leave those words. So thank you.
Hello, family. My name's Warren. I'll make this short, but Butch, Aaron, Ernie, Brandy. Butch was a hood dad to me. I've known him ever since I was a kid, and long before he got clean. Same thing with Jerome. And he would always take me off the street. The house that he's talking about that's been brought up in the garage was a safe place for me. And no matter what time it was, right, it was always open to me. And I absolutely loved him because I lived in Felony Flats, and there wasn't too many places that you could go at 2:30 in the morning, or to get. And every time I walked in the door, it was, Warren, are you hungry? The fridge was open to me. I'll tell you a quick story. Right around 1997, I got obsessed with computers. And so I was so obsessed with it that I went around to Goodwill and I bought everything they had, right, a whole van full of computers. And like, it was right around when the internet was kind of really kicking off. And so I came to the house and I was like, Butch, man, I got this, man. Look, can I bring all this stuff inside? He's just some computers, right? So I unloaded all these computers in the middle of his front room, right? And of course, we were all doing other things, and so it became like a project for every room had a computer, the garage, like we were all trying to figure out how to hook it up. And but anyway, so when Butch got clean and Jerome, like I was still out there, and I always looked at Butch and Jerome. I was like, because I knew what they were doing. They were doing some real things, and I always wanted that, right? So about a year ago, I finally came into the MRC. I'd been through treatment 4 other times at other places, but coming through the MRC with Butch and Jerome, it was very special for me. And to this day, the things I learned from him, not only was I in that other life with them, but now I get to live this life out here. And they're very much been my mentors and been people that in my life who supported me and encouraged me to work in this field and follow their footsteps. And I look at that. I look at all the people that Butch has touched, and gone but not forgotten. You will always be loved and missed, Butch. Thank you.
My name's Kelly. Me and Butch worked together for 9 years, and I don't work at VOA anymore, but still family to me. It's an irreplaceable place. I wanted to acknowledge Jerome because all the time that I worked with Butch, he always talked about Jerome like they were like tied to right here to their belt loop, like they were stuck together for life. And I mean, to have somebody so close that loved you that much, I just can't even imagine what it's like right now for him. And your family and stuff, it's hard because I understand. And I just wanted to say that I got to do Beverly. I mean, I didn't get the regular camping trips, but I got to do Beverly Beach pretty much on a regular basis. And Butch he was just a joy to be able to get to know and talk to all the time. And the one thing, we did a lot of trips together, a lot of day trips to the beach. And then I got to do softball. I was really excited. I got to fill in for him with softball. Butch, that was Butch's thing. I know Jerome already spoke about it, but softball was Butch's thing. He had, and I'll never forget, every time, I loved, because I've always loved sports, but when I got to take the clients to softball, because Butch had something going on, we'd go to the softball field, and it was like everybody was so disappointed that Butch wasn't there. I felt awkward because they were like, "Where's Butch?" And I could see it in their faces. He was just so loved, and I just wanted to share that because to be honest, I got here at 11:30. I wanted to make sure I was here because I wanted to make sure I got a parking spot because Butch was so loved by everybody that I just would imagine this, the place being crowded to the streets. Meetings, anywhere I've ever been, and people know Butch in recovery, in the recovery world. He's always spoken about so highly regarded, and I absolutely loved being with him at the MRC, you know, working side by side with him for years. He was just a to me, he was a gentle giant there. And I've always loved Butch. And I've been gone from there for a few years now, and we always kept in touch. And when Blake called me when I was working a few weeks back, or a couple weeks back, I had to take like a half-hour break just to cry, you know. And I just, miss him very much, and I'm really sorry for everybody Butch is going to be missed by everybody, so thank you.
Take a look around. Everybody just look around. See the amount of love and respect that's in this room. A lot of you have known Butch a lot longer than I have. This man has been a part of my journey every step of the way. My clean date's 4/15/11. And to have Butch be there as a part of that since day one, to let you know what kind of a friend Butch was to me. Whenever I needed something, Butch was there. When I got out of treatment, I had a house gave to me, and I turned it into my own clean and sober house. And Butch would drop anything to come over there and help me do what I had to do in order to make this house livable and suitable to be a clean and sober house. When I needed to have shots in my back and in my knee or surgery on my hand just back in February, Butch would drop everything and he would be right there. Even though he was in pain, he wouldn't let nobody know that he was in pain. He sat there for 2.5 hours up at OHSU while I'm having surgery on my hand. And I come out and I look at him, I say, "You all right, Butch?" He's like, yeah, I'm cool. Well, let's go get some breakfast. He's like, I'm not real hungry. I'm like, let's stop and get something anyways. Butch has always been there for me since day one. And I've never, ever seen him turn anybody away. If you needed something, Butch would sit there and listen to you, or he would talk to you. If you were struggling, he would find a way to pull you back in the back office and talk to you. One-on-one, he'd make everybody else leave the back room, In my recovery since 2011, I've learned to look at other gentlemen and be able to look in their eyes and tell them that I love them and that I mean it. I've lost a lot of friends: Earl Andrews, Leonard Arnold, Tony Hall, and now Butch, And to not have my ride or die there every day is hard. For years, me and Butch would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd meet down at the MRC. We'd go wake guys up. We'd go pick people up, men and women, and go out there to the softball fields and play all day long, all night long. Turn around and go back and do it the next day, year after year, weekend after weekend. You know what? Butch loved softball, and he enjoyed seeing addicts come together as a team and win softball games. Even if you lost, it didn't matter. Butch got an enjoyment out of being out there watching everybody play. He would turn nobody away. It didn't matter if you were good or if you weren't that good. He'd still make sure that you got put on the field. Just with the show of hands, how many ball players are here? Take a look around. There's a lot of ball players. Butch loves and still loves each and every one of you. You know? I'm going to miss them early mornings, them late nights, them Sunday brunches. I walk out my sliding glass door. I walk out my sliding door and I look out 200 yards. There's Butch's apartment. Not being able to talk to him, to have the conversations that we've had, sucks. I'm never going to forget that, man. And anyways, he called me up one year. He's like, Donnie, guess what? You're the new head coach of the softball team. And that's when Jeff Simpson stepped down. And Butch was like, hey, come on in. I got something for you. He went and got me a jersey made that said coach. And I'm not conceited. I'm convinced with Butch's management skills and my ability as a coach, we built many winning softball teams. You know? And I'm going to take this jersey. Butch was animate about getting me a jersey. I'm going to retire this jersey. Butch Nicklin, I love you to pieces. You're no longer in pain, my friend. You know? He's no longer suffering. But just looking at out here, seeing everybody that's here that knows Butch, or Butch has been a part of, you know, it's overwhelming. It's hard to stand up here to keep my shit together. I'm 61-year-old crybaby, but you know what? That man had a lot of love and compassion for me. And I've come to the conclusion in the last 13 years, Butch has been molding me to try to do what he's done in his past 20 years of being clean, and that's trying to help other recovering addicts out any way possible. You know, there's a couple funny things that I want to kind of switch directions here. Butch would call me up and he'd say, hey, Donnie, let's talk about softball. I said, all right, Butch, what's going on? He goes, well, I just left the MRC, and he goes, I'm on 84 and I'm heading home. He goes, what do you think about putting Nolly at first base? I'm like, yeah, I think we can do that. And as we're talking, he's like, oh shit, Donnie. He goes, I got to get off the freeway. I'm like, why, Butch? He goes, I got to go back to the VOA. I'm like, what for? He goes, I forgot my phone. I say, Butch. I say, does it hurt, Butch? He says, what are you talking about? I say, well, you're talking to me on the phone. We started laughing, you know. But to see him smile and to hear his laugh out there playing softball, I'm going to miss that. And I know a lot of you guys will miss that. My name's Donnie, and I'm a grateful recovering addict.
My name's April. I had the pleasure of meeting Butch when my husband went through the VOA in 2017. My husband joined the softball team, and I was always there. Butch encouraged me to join. You know, I remember when I first started working at the MRC in 2021, because I called Jerome, and I was like, Jerome, are you hiring? He's like, who wants the job? I was like, me. He's like, send it. Send your application in. And him and Butch both would harass me until I got my application in and got my interview. I remember my first day walking in to the MRC, and Butch always called me Prill. Prill, I need your help, Prill. Come sit down here. You know, I was his work wife. We shared a birthday together. I remember one year I got him this mug and this keychain that said Old Lives Matter, and he was so proud of that keychain and that mug. And so when it was getting really hot out and Butch was having a hard time with the softball team because of the heat, he looked at me and he said, Prill, it's your turn. You got to take that on. And it's been an honor and a blessing to like continue that for the guys and show others that like his legacy lives on and off those fields. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to get to know him and his kids. He was so proud of all of them, his grandkids, his great-grandkids. And I know he'd be proud of all of us and laughing up there, walking the perimeter with his smoke break. You know. A couple other times I remember he was talking about having to quit smoke because his doctor was like, you have to quit cigarettes. And I remember him sitting at the softball fields with a vape. And I'm like, Butch, what are you doing? And he's like trying to vape, and he's like smoking a cigarette and vaping, and I'm like, Butch, that's not what you're supposed to do. He's gone, but he's never forgotten. Our birthdays are never going to be the same, but I get to live on with him and celebrate his on and off the fields.
So I'll just say that I wasn't going to come up here because I hate talking in front of people. It makes me super freaking nervous. But I do have to share how special Butch was to me. I'm one of the WRC VOA girls, and he used to come every Friday and take us to practice, and then every weekend and take us to the games. And you know, when I started, I was horrible, right? Like, so horrible. They would, like, Donnie would throw the ball, and I'd duck and, like, you know, try to jump out of the way. And they're like, that's not what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to catch the ball. And I was like, yeah, okay. So they put me a catcher, and that's where I stayed for 4 years. But I loved it, right? I loved being a part of VOA. I loved being a part of the softball team. And if it wasn't Butchie coming to get us, it was Donnie coming to get us. You know, when I moved into my Oxford house, he would come get us, and we'd go to the MRC, and they would feed us, and Butch would always tell me, you can have whatever you want, darling, you know, and I remember my first year at Ocean Shores, and, you know, when you're fucking shaking right now, when you're new and you're broken and you're used to a toxic environment, it's scary to get out there and be a part of something like that, right? And Jerome and Butch took me under their wing, and the thing that I will always remember was when they do the clean time countdown, and we were all sitting together, and they were like getting to the 1 year, right? And Butch and Jerome were just like, stand up, Alicia, stand up, you know? And they were clapping and they were smiling, and they were so proud of me, right? And it made me be so proud of myself. And that's when I decided, like, I want to stay, right? Like, I want to be a part of this. I want this to be my life. And I've been here ever since. And it's not going to be the same out on the fields, like everybody says. Not seeing Papa's face and giving him a big hug. He was a wonderful man. My girls call him Papa, you know, Papa Butch, and they run up and he'd love on them. And I just want to say that no matter how awful I was, he always made me feel a part of the team and made me feel loved, and I don't suck anymore. So thank you, Butch. And
Gilbert, recovering addict. So I'm alumni of 94, and as I look out here, if I could see, there's only one person other than the director of VOA that's in the crowd. And I didn't really know Butch a whole lot, but when I walked through the MRC as alumni, when I came home from the state facility, I remember him. He was short like me, of course, but I wasn't in there, right? So I'm sure he had to crack the whip, right? Because we're stubborn people, right? But I do remember, he always took the time at least to say hi. And it ain't about me, but as I bend the corner on that 10-year milestone, Butch and the rest of VOA are there with me. And he happened to be one of the speakers a year ago, him and Jerome, and they were shedding tears, and I'm thinking in Spanish, no llores, carrons. And anyways, that means, they were crying and it was sentimental. Anyways, I'll keep this short and sweet. God willingly on Wednesday, I will celebrate 10 years. And now my recovery, there's more to it. As far as being alumni and what the VOA has done for me as alumni, etc. And that baby blue t-shirt that we got a year ago, it's got more meaning to it than just, receiving that t-shirt at that alumni celebration where Jerome and Butch and John H. were also speakers. Much love, Greg. Thanks for reaching out.
Well, I'm going to bring us back to about 2005. I remember coming into the MRC and seeing Butch working at the front desk, and Jerome. I think they were both working as MRCs at the time. And I was a lost soul. A lost soul. And there was another man by the name of Leonard Arnold. I thought I was a special case factor, and I was entitled to a cell phone at the time, was illegal. And I just remember being there. I was on a blackout period, and I snuck in my cell phone, and I'm sitting, I was going through some stuff in my life where I needed to have contact with my kids at the time, who were being taken care of by somebody else, because I had an addiction that was trying to kill me. And so I'm in there, I'm fucking with, excuse my language, messing with my phone, and Leonard Arnold comes in the room and busts me. I kind of liked him at first, and then, ever since he took my phone, we had a thing. So a week goes by, somebody comes, picks up my phone. I end up getting my phone back, and I'm up there, and I'm messing with the phone. And again, I get in trouble. Leonard comes in and busts me. He knows exactly what time to come in the room. And I just remember going on outings with Butch. It was I think we were going camping somewhere. I don't even remember where. It's a long time ago. And Butch was always cool. I swear they teamed up on me. They wanted me to come to all these outings because, I thought I had other things to do. And I just remember Butch never complained about anything. And as the years went on, when I see Butch, he's not complaining about anything. I want to say, Butch, you got a lot of people who love you, and I don't know any of your family, but my condolence to every one of them, because you're a hell of a good man. And thank you, Greg Stone, for helping us get our lives together through this program that you created. Thank you.
I'm Lydia, I'm the cook. And I used to, Butch, you always wanted to cook in the kitchen when I took a vacation. But he liked the hours. He didn't really care about the cooking. He said it was hard work. And one thing about Butch is he was good to the girls. He really was. You would think he was flirting with all the girls, but he just liked to take care of us, and make sure things went right. And he told me he liked the hours to cook with, but he did what he wanted to do. And it was a lot of TV dinners. And I always had to set him up, But every Friday and every Thursday, he would bring me a chai tea. For the last few years, he would always bring me something like that. And he'd always ask me how I'm doing and if I need help. And he said he wasn't a babysitter, but he watches the guys, but he doesn't really like babysitting them. So he said they're grown men. They should be able to do things, but I shouldn't have to tell them what they should do when they should already know it. But I love him too. It's really hard to lose him. He's been there for a long, long time. And he's very supportive. And I'm going to miss him. I just can't believe it happened. I'm already, it's just kind of hard for a bunch of us. And we know we all love him. All right, that's it.
Hello, folks. My name's Sean. I've worked for VOA since 2014. I've had the opportunity of working over at the MRC since February of 2019. And what I can say is it's different walking into work now. And as Jerome said, if you've been to the MRC, you look back, Butch would be sitting in that chair 95% of the time. Something I wanted to share that was one of the funniest things with Butch is he used to like to sit in that chair, and one of his favorite things to do was look up PDX mugshots. And so a while back, they took it away. And so I was sitting there and I was thinking, and Butch had a sense of humor, and we used to laugh a lot. I went down, I said, Butch, you okay? And he goes, yeah, I'm fine. I said, well, they took PDX mugshots away. And he goes, yeah, why did they do that? And I said, Butch, well, because there's this thing, they put those pictures up. And he goes, it was a bill that passed because, you're really innocent until proven guilty. And Butch goes, well, that's stupid. So, it's different coming in there. It's different being there. One of the things I'll say that I loved about Butch is he would sit in that chair, and I'm like, I'd come in and I'd look at the coffee pot, and I'd like, Butch, you're not doing anything. At least you can do is make some coffee. I'd go up to my office. I'd call down about 10 minutes later. I go, Butch, is the coffee done yet? He goes, nope, it's almost done. That's the kind of guy Butch was. He was just a great guy. He loved the guys. And one of the things that Jerome said too, I'm the intake coordinator over there, so it's my responsibilities to keep the beds filled. I'm touching on what Jerome said. Butch held the guys accountable. He did. He was very good at holding the guys accountable. But he used to come to the staff meeting, and then as time went on, he wouldn't go to the staff meeting anymore. And anytime somebody would do something wrong or whatever, Butch would be like, well, it's not like when Jerome and I were here. He goes, they should kick him out. So we'd be at the staff meeting, and I'd be sitting there, and Greg's very diplomatic. And I'll say, one of the reasons I wanted to go work at the MRC was to be in the atmosphere that's there with that lady that was she's one of the greatest things about the MRC, Lydia. She just left. To be around Jerome, to be around Butch, to be around Greg Stone, and Christina was here. I don't know if she's still here. She was one of the counselors that previously worked there, but it's like a family over there. So it's like when this happened, it's like, we lost a part of our family, and it's a lot different. I remember when Greg came in. And Greg's office and my office is connected by a door, and everybody handles grief differently. And he told me that Butch had passed, and what it was for me, it felt like somebody had kicked me in the stomach. There wasn't tears, there wasn't anything like that. It's just, and then I sat there just for the next period of time, very stunned and shocked. And what I'll say about that is, what life teaches me and what I've realized is that you just never know. And so those people that are close to you, cherish those moments. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you appreciate them, because you don't know when their time's going to come up. So I love Butch. He was a great part of the MRC, and it's been different just not seeing him there. So I just wanted to come up and honor him and just say a couple words. He was a good man. So thank you.
So it seems like we're finishing up, unless anybody wants to come up. Anybody have a burning desire? I want, huh? Don't mess with the mustache. That was Butch, right? I do want to say one thing really quick too is, if you did not see photos, we have had a lot of photos, and it seems like we got stuck on this one. There were some difficulties. We had a lot of softball pictures, so it's not like we didn't want anybody think that we didn't appreciate and Butch, what the softball team meant to him. And probably just about everybody in this room has pictures with him. Just something had happened. So I want you to just remember that we were thinking about you also. Also, I just want to thank everybody who came up here and spoke, everybody that's here today in honor of Butch. And just to remember, a lot of people said a lot of things, and this is one thing I know I could say. Through Butch's life, and especially his recovery, no man has ever felt threatened, and every woman and child around him felt safe. And that is a wonderful thing I want to end with. And we have time. There's some food. There's a cake out there. There's a lot of desserts out there. If anybody wants to grab one, there's some drinks. If you want to mingle, we actually have the time to do that. We're going to wrap this part up if everybody's done. Thank you all so much for being here.